Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paula's Soapbox Live. My guest tonight is an independent author. She is the author of the Collide series. You might know her from that series of books. Her name is JC Hannigan. She's going to be talking about her books and her upcoming book, Damaged Goods, which comes out in September. So please welcome JC Hannigan to the show. Hi. I should mention we're having some technical difficulties getting JC up on the screen. I'm not sure what it is. I think Google might have changed something, so we'll just do the best we can tonight with it and hope that the next interview that I have, it'll go a lot more smoothly. But when have you ever known me not to have technical difficulties? So, okay, JC, you just started self-publishing last year. Is that true?
Yeah, in 2014, I self-published the first Collide book, and then, that was in July, and then in December, I released the sequel, and then I actually got picked up with Book Trope Publishing, so I re-released those books this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they only available as ebooks so far, the Collide series, or are they in paperback now to be purchased?
They're in paperback now through Book Trope, so it's
Okay.
pretty exciting. I got to hold them for the first time ever this
Yeah.
summer. It's like holding a baby.
So the only place you can purchase the paperback is through Book Trope, through their website?
Amazon and Barnes and Noble and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Very cool. So how many books have you written since you started self-publishing?
Like 5 that I've finished. Yeah.
In this past year, you've written 5 books in this past year.
2 years. So I wrote
2 years.
2 Collide books, and then Damaged Goods, and then I wrote the sequel to Damaged Goods called Reckless Abandon. And then I wrote Collateral, which is the third Collide book.
Yeah.
And then I've basically done another novel called Rebel Soul. So.
Wow. So, you've written quite a few books in the last, 5 books in the last 2 years. That's some would say that's a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking when I actually sit down and think about it.
Yeah. So what has it been like? What's the feedback been like? Do you read any of the comments online from like iTunes and Amazon?
I'm kind of like, if I get tagged in something, then I'll read it because I'll see it, but I don't really have the time to sit down and go through them all individually. But from what I've seen, the response has been pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like people seem to really enjoy it.
That's really cool. So what for you has been the most surprising part about self-publishing?
Oh, just I guess like there's like the community, the book community, the readers, and all the other authors and everything like that. I wasn't expecting it to be so uplifting and so like a big family, so that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there are a lot of independent authors out there right now, so I can imagine that it is a pretty big, like, one big community, one big family, like you said. Well, I keep hearing that formatting is a pain. So what is that formatting in self-publishing?
Oh, I'm so glad that Book Trope picked me up because that is what I hated about it. I can't format apparently to save my life.
Yeah.
There's just so many like little things involved in doing it, and I know I bombed the first few times that I had released Collide because I just couldn't get it right. Like the formatting aspect of it, I was way in over my head.
Yeah. So what is that? Is it different depending on, like, if you upload it to iTunes, like iBooks, and for Kindle, do you have to do something different with formatting? Is that
I kind of thought it was all the same, but I guess that's not true because it really bombed on Kubo or
Oh,
Kobo. Sorry,
yeah.
it it was like apparently like one word per page basically. I don't even know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there is different ways of doing it, or maybe I just did it wrong, or I'm really not the person to ask for formatting. I can tell you how to bomb it.
Yeah. Well, I keep hearing from some of the other authors I've talked to that it is a pain. So you know, from what you said, it does sound like a pain. It looks like there would be like one way of doing it and then a program that could kind of fix it for you if, you know, it's not the way they want it.
Yeah, I think I used the Smashwords guide to formatting originally, and then I kind of tweaked it a bit with the Kindle guide, but there wasn't really any for the other formats that I had come across. So yeah, it was pretty
Wow.
confusing.
Well, it's a good thing that that book trope picked you up then, so you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, they make it a lot easier.
Yeah. So what made you decide to become a writer in the first place?
I love reading and I love books, and I have like all these concepts and ideas in my head, and I don't know, I just kind of thought, why not?
Hmm.
Like, why not write? So
Yeah.
I sat down, I guess, for National Novel Writing Month, and started actually chipping away at doing things like that, like actually taking myself seriously enough to go, I could write a novel.
Yeah. That's really cool. So I've only had a chance to read Collide, the first book in the Collide series, and this is, for those who don't know, it's about a teacher-student relationship. So, what made you decide to write a book and tackle that topic?
Um, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things that made me want to write it. Like Harlow herself, her character stood out, and then I just always kind of thought, like our obsession with the taboo relationships, and why not a teacher and a student? It's
Yeah,
accessible. Like you can't really go out and meet a werewolf, or
right.
you know, you could fall in love with your teacher,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, yeah, it happens. I mean, it's yeah. Um, so, but what I've gathered from my research is that most of your novels, and like I said, I've only had the chance to read Collide so far, um, deal with real issues. So, why is it important for you to deal with like real issues?
Yeah, I didn't hear your
You didn't
question.
catch
You
it?
kind of
Okay, I'm
yeah, you
sorry.
blinked out of it. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that a lot of your other novels deal with real issues. So, why is it important for you to tackle real issues in your books?
The I like how complex human nature is and how everybody is so different, and we all have different things that we're dealing with and different things that make us tick. So, to me, it makes it more real and gritty and relatable if you have that, have more to deal with than just falling for their English teacher
Hmm.
or being in love with the guy that doesn't notice them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of touch on that. And
Yeah, I like that because you know people are not one dimensional, and you know there are a lot of books
did you
out
get the
there.
answer?
Yeah, I heard it. It cut out at the very end, but I caught it. So, yeah, you know, you read a lot of books and the characters are one dimensional. So I like that you're aiming to write characters who are three dimensional because people, you know, are very complex. They have a lot of layers, a lot of different layers. So I'm glad that you're writing books like that.
Thank you.
Okay, so you describe your writing style, and I hope I get this right. You describe your writing style as plantser. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Explain what that is, and I mean, is that a real word? Or is it something you made up, or?
It's something I've heard the writing community say. It's like when you're a cross between a plotter and a pantser. So
Yeah,
I'll sit down and I'll try and plot out a novel, and I'll have this entire pretty outline all done. And then I'll sit down and start writing, and basically nothing goes according to what I planned.
yeah,
There are a few key points that stay the same, but yeah, it's mostly just me writing whatever.
yeah.
So
You sort of let the characters tell the story for you, I guess.
yeah, and I could not predict where Harlow went or any of them really. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So that's why I call myself a planter.
Well, I keep hearing that from a lot of different authors about, you know, they start to write a book and the characters sort of tell their story for them. So, yeah, it's funny how the imagination works that way.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to touch on this because I know that you want to raise awareness for it. Um, you have a rare chronic bone disorder. called MHE, which stands for Multiple Hereditary Exostoses. Is that how you pronounce that word?
Exostoses, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's something that you were born with. So can you just
it wrong too.
can you just explain to us what it is? Oh, I think we lost her.
Kind of glitched out. I think you asked me.
Yeah, it did glitch out. Yeah, explain it, please. Yeah, you glitch. Okay, she's not there anymore. Like I said, we're having some technical issues tonight. I'm not sure what's going on. So we'll just wait a minute and see if she is able to come back in. I think she's trying. Yes, are you there? That's okay. It's glitching out. It is. Are you close to your Wi-Fi, your router for your Wi-Fi, or?
Yeah, I'm right beside it.
Okay, well, it shouldn't be glitching out. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I just, if you can, and if you stay with us for enough time, yeah, just explain what that is.
It's basically I have these extra bone growths. Well, not extra, but bone growths growing off the bone plates of my other bones. So they interfere with joints and muscles and tendons and nerves and all that. So it's not exactly the most comfortable thing in the world. They're all over. So it's, both my sons inherited it. So
yeah. I was reading a little bit about it. Yeah, it's definitely, from what I read, it is rare. So what's the statistics on the prevalence of it? Do you know?
Hereditary wise, it's 50-50 chance. So every single child that you have will have a 50-50% chance of inheriting it. And both my boys were on the end of receiving it, so they got it. I'm the rare genetic mutation, so I didn't inherit it from anybody at all. It just kind of randomly popped up in me. And I also have it on genes that are not common, like it's not commonly found on, which I thought was really kind of cool. I mean, not really cool, but interesting.
Interesting, yeah. So do you know what the prevalence is for the general population of people that get it?
I've never really looked into that, but it's very, very rare. Like I'm not too sure what the actual statistic is, but I can, like there's a handful of us that have inherited it, but that have got it. Sorry, the genetic mutation.
Yeah.
But there's no way to really like predict who's gonna get it or what comes into play. Like they don't really know yet. I guess they're still researching that aspect of it.
Probably because it's so rare. So I mean, you've had multiple surgeries because of it.
Yeah.
15 to be exact.
In and around there, yeah, 15.
In and around 15. Have you lost count at this point, basically?
I have. I can't remember if it was 15 before the last one or if it was 15 after, but I'm going in again this fall probably. So.
Yeah. So what does a typical surgery entail? Can you in recovery? Because I imagine the recovery is pretty bad too.
It really depends on the location and what it's interfering with. Like, I had a tumor on the heel of my foot, and it was like the size of a marble, so they had to shave that down. But it's on the heel of your foot, so that's like where all your weight goes, and that was a really crummy recovery, and it took a while to actually. I still can't really put full weight down because it feels really weird because of the nerve damage, but sometimes it's just as simple as going in there and shaving it down. And then other times they have to like reconstruct things and make like ligaments and that kind of thing in joints. It really depends. Like I know for my wrist, they're gonna go in and they're gonna take out the tumor that's pushing one of my bones out, and then they're gonna have to like make a joint in my wrist. So
that may be it. Yeah, sounds like that may be an extensive one, and this is the one you're planning on having in the fall.
Yeah, so I'm like booting out books like crazy right now, trying to get everything ahead.
Right. Oh wow. So if you put off a surgery, which I'm imagining you probably can't do for very long because of the pain, but if you put it off, will that tumor keep growing?
Yeah, I've put them off before, and it one time I almost lost the feeling in my leg because it was so bad within the span of 3 weeks, and then like it really depends on where it is, what it's doing, and I guess the luck of it.
Yeah.
So it's like I know when I got pregnant with my firstborn, I was supposed to go in for surgery, but I obviously couldn't, so we rescheduled it to after, and it had grown quite a bit. So yeah, it sometimes yes, sometimes no.
So, how old were you when you got diagnosed?
18 months. I thought
Ah,
it was birth, but there wasn't really like my parents didn't know what it was called, or the doctor didn't know either. So
yeah.
yeah,
So I imagine it took a while to find an accurate diagnosis.
yeah, it was. Oh, she's fine. She'll grow out of that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Kept
took a
brushing it
while.
off, and yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad that they figured out what it was.
Yeah.
Um, so is testing available to, I'm assuming that you have to be tested if you suspect someone has the gene.
Yeah. When I was pregnant, I actually learned all about that. You can get blood work done, and they test in a lab in the States. And OHIP will cover it if you're, pregnant out here. So they tested, they found out what genes I had the MHE on, and then I had the option of doing that like the one where they I guess go in through the uterus there, and they draw a little bit of the amniotic fluid out, but
Yeah,
I chose not to do that because the risk of miscarriage was pretty high.
yeah,
So instead, we just filled out all the paperwork for him to get blood work done right away after he was born, and it was
yeah.
supposed to be done off the umbilical cord too. So
So, wow. Well, as you said, both of you have two kids, two sons, and they both inherited this gene mutation. So, how are they dealing with it?
they have their days. Like some days are rough for them. Other days they're good. They're
Hmm.
typical boys. They have a lot of energy. They don't like to be told to sit down and calm down. So
Yeah,
I don't foresee it holding them back because it's just their personalities. They're kind of like me. Like we like to keep going and
yeah,
moving. Uh, so far they've changed the way that they treat it too. Like when I was a kid, it was operate the moment something came up, the moment something was causing problems or got too big. Now it's
hmm,
kind of like wait until the last possible minute
hmm.
because they found that it didn't really matter to operate right away or not. There's still
Oh,
pain
okay.
involved. So
Yeah. So how old are your boys?
6 and 3.
6 and 3. Well, I can imagine that it's probably pretty difficult to get them to slow down when they feel good. Anyway, so well, I know that, and we should mention that you are in Canada,
Yeah.
so it's you take a synthetic marijuana pill to help you manage your pain. Does that help any?
It relaxes me enough to sleep. Like I only take it at nighttime, and
Hmm.
it just helps me because I'm so tense all the time from I guess pain. So it just helps me sleep, and then I can
Yeah,
get up in the morning and actually move. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, at least it helps you sleep. I mean, because I can imagine it being so painful that it could keep you awake pretty easily. So,
oh yeah, it gets pretty uncomfortable too, trying to find a spot that you're not lying on something that's bugging you. So
yeah,
it's a blessing. I'm glad to have that because I have a really bad tolerance for other painkillers like morphine and oxycontins and stuff like that, and
yeah,
Percocets. Like I won't take them. They make me
yeah,
so sick. So
yeah,
make me sick, which is awesome.
yeah. Plus, there's probably it would be so easy to get enough of that stuff built up in your system that it wouldn't work anyway after a while. So,
You build up a tolerance for sure.
right. Um, so you used to be able to draw, and because of the MHE, you can't do that anymore. So, will you be able to do that? Do you think after this next surgery?
Draw probably.
Uh
Probably not. I
huh.
think like I think that I don't know, like maybe if I did it every day and I trained myself to redo it, maybe, but because he thinks the wrist is going to be really weak afterwards, I'm not too sure how that'll how that'll go.
Yeah.
But
So
I could try.
Well, I imagine that if it's hard to draw, I mean, how are you writing? Is that difficult for you? Do you have to like sort of take it in like segments, like do 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there?
Yeah, I usually do it that way, but I also like I guess typical people like turn their wrists a certain way to type, and I kind of have to like art like put my arm up to do it. It's really weird, so I have to like alter the way I do it.
Hmm.
If it gets uncomfortable and whatnot, but mostly it's just like an hour in the morning if I can, an hour at night if I can, and then
Yeah.
whenever I can throughout the day.
Well, you're an inspiration because I mean anyone that can deal with what you're dealing with and has written 5 books in the last 2 years, I mean that's pretty good. You should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. I kind of am for that. Like I didn't let it stop me, so
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine that probably writing is a little bit cathartic for you as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I've
yeah.
It's always been
As
like my therapy.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, at 16 you attempted to write a book about a girl going through MHE. So, do you ever think about going back to that someday and maybe finishing it?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's on my mind to do. As like I'm not too sure if she's gonna remain a teenager or what. But yeah, I'll definitely be writing about a girl who has this disorder and all the stuff that she deals with. I guess.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that was probably a way of you expressing what you're going through as a teenager at the time, because I can imagine as a teenager it was really difficult going through that.
Yeah, it definitely helped voice like all of the things that I was feeling, especially because I let my parents read it, so they kind of got an insider look at what I was feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, what is the one thing that you want people to know about this disease for those who have never heard of it? And I'm sure that, like I said, it's rare, so I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know what it is. What would you want them to know?
I'm not really sure. It doesn't look like you can't really see it unless you're looking. I have to park in the handicap parking spot, but I don't look upon first glance handicap, so I get a lot of the dirty comments
Right.
and the meanness towards me because I'm young. So they assume that I'm just kind of stealing the spot to go in.
Right.
So I guess it would be like don't judge and you know wait until you're told about it before you assume anything.
Yeah.
Because some people who have this disorder have like one or two bumps and that's it throughout their history. Other people suffer even more than I do. So it's really it's a huge like there's so much about it that I would want people to know, but at the same time it's like it doesn't stop. It doesn't mean that I can't do certain things.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you have flare ups, and some days are better than others, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's definitely a stigma attached, and like you said, you get the looks when you park in a handicapped spot, but people really have to change the way they view handicapped, because handicap doesn't necessarily mean that you're confined to a wheelchair. There's all different spectrums of being handicapped or
Yeah.
having a handicap.
Yeah. That's
So,
definitely the two. And a lot of people think too, like they see a couple of scars and that they can ask about that person. So
yeah.
I'm kind of more or less like, again, don't ask unless you're told because
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
I wouldn't feel comfortable going up to a complete stranger and saying, "Hey, where did you get that scar?" So, I mean, there's some people that would do that, but that's not the way I was raised. So, I wouldn't do that.
exactly. And a lot of people who have, disabilities of any sort, they don't want to just be seen as their disability. They want to be seen as a person. And
Right,
like,
exactly.
maybe a writer or a doctor or whatever they are, they don't want to just be that disability and they don't want to just talk about that thing to those people.
Right. Right. Well, something like that could very easily consume your whole life. So, you don't want that to be your whole identity, and you don't want other people to think that's your whole identity. So, yeah. Well, in addition to being a fiction writer, you also blog. You have blogs, articles all over the place. I mean, you're all over the internet.
Yeah, I just kind
uh,
of
yeah.
like that.
let's see, you're a columnist for the MHE Coalition, which I'm assuming do they just raise awareness for this disease?
Yeah, and the funds for the research and all that. And they send out We Care packages to little kids who are going through surgery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And you were also a content manager for Stigma Fighters Canada. So what is it that they hope to accomplish?
Break the stigma of mental illness. So,
Yeah.
by giving a platform for people to come and share their stories and have a voice. Because a lot of
Yeah.
the time you're silenced with what you're dealing with because
Right.
society doesn't like to focus on that. But
Yeah.
we're changing that. We had Biff Naked right for us, so
Yeah. I love that. So that's so good, and it's so important. It doesn't matter, if it's MHE or if it's another disorder. It's so important to change the stigma because it's not anything that anyone asks for. So
definitely.
Obviously, you also blog for, let's see, Organic Coffee Haphazardly Literary Society.
Yeah.
What is that? Love the title.
Allie Burke funded it. It's we all love literacy and we love books and we love reading, we love writing, we love it all. So she created this space where authors, bloggers, and book lovers could come and just kind of share their love of the written word, and it's really awesome.
Yeah.
There's like so many different people who contribute and different things to read every day. Pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and you also have your own blog called Sarcastica. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's I've had that for a while. It's had some name changes between when I started and then when I had Sarcastica originally and then now. So
Yeah.
yeah, Sarcastica's always been the most, I guess, accurate one.
Yeah. So tell us about Damaged Goods. This comes out in September, right?
Yes.
Okay. When is the release date, first of all? Do you have an actual release date?
September 15th.
September 15th. Okay. So tell us about this Damaged Goods. You've already written the sequel for it, you mentioned earlier, so.
Yeah, it's a two-part series. The first book is really emotional. It's about a 17-year-old girl who's been in love with the same guy for years, and she's kind of like the wallflower at school, and she has her group of friends, but she never really stands outside. And she's never really, I guess, she never feels like she's part of the main attraction. So in Damaged Goods, a whole bunch of things are happening to her. She's stepping outside of her comfort zone. She's reaching for her dreams. She wants to be a singer. So she's doing things like talent shows and, drawing attention to herself, which she normally wouldn't have done. And she's also giving it a go with the guy she's been in love with for years. So,
Yeah.
It was a really emotional thing to write, though, just because of the characters themselves. They're just so different than anything that I've written.
Wow. And what did you say that the sequel is called?
Reckless Abandon.
Reckless Abandon. Okay. And do you have a release date for that yet? Because I imagine that as soon as people read Damaged Goods, they're going to want to read the sequel.
Yeah, they definitely will. January 15th.
Oh.
Yeah, we've if I could release them at the same time, I would, but
yeah,
we want to do a little bit of
anticipation. Right, exactly. It gives people something to look forward to, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to read that one when it comes out. So,
pretty
steamy. Yo, okay, well. Okay, so is there anything else that you would like to add before we go? Because that was all of my questions.
Not really, other than I'm going to be in London, Ontario, August 8th for the Ignite Your Soul author event. So,
okay.
Any London, Ontario people or people in Michigan who want to hop over and come say hi, it's a free event for readers. So,
yeah.
Aside from that.
Okay, well, JC, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you talking about the MHE, because I know that was probably difficult for you to talk about, but I'm glad that you talked about it, because I'm like you. I think that it's important to raise awareness for this sort of thing, so hopefully this will help out in some small way. At least, get people to know that it's, you know, what it is a little bit, and get some information out there. So thank you so much for coming on, and I hope that you'll come back at some point.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you have a very good night. So I will talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.